Hi guys, welcome to this video. Today I'm going to talk about the top 5 reasons why people don't get into property. If that's something you're interested in, stay tuned. The first reason that keeps coming up time and time again is I don't have the money. For some reason people seem to think that you need millions of pounds to get into property investing. That simply isn't true. It's one of the biggest misconceptions of investing in property. There are tons of ways of getting into property with no money. I started myself with only £200 in the bank. You can deal source, you can do lease options, rent to rents, rent to service accommodation, you can raise finance or do joint ventures. Hell, I know people have got into multi-million-pound deals where they've got sort of 15, 20 units at the back end and the GDV is 4 million and they've used none of their own money. You do not need money to get into property. The second one is they say it's risky. For some reason, people think property investing is risky. I mean, risky in comparison to what? To having a job? I mean, I can kind of see that, but at the same time, you can be made redundant. You can leave at any point. You have no security over that job. Not even the way you act and how good you are at your job keeps you in that. It's just whether or not your boss wants you there. That seems pretty risky to me. If you've got tenants in place, they're paying you rent every single month. It's guaranteed. You know how much is coming in. Yeah, you might get some legislation changes. You might get some rule changes. You have to put a little bit of money in. You might get bad tenants. You might have things like that. But you can account for that and you can mitigate it. Over the course of the lifetime of the property, you're going to earn a lot more than you ever spent on that property in the first place. And you've got your equity tied in, and you're going to get capital appreciation as well. There are more risky strategies. If you're relying on valuations or you're waiting for financing or for sales to come through, then there's an added risk there. Or if you've got guests staying every night and you can't guarantee an occupancy rate, then there is some risk there. But if you're just buying a house and renting it out, the simplest form of property investing, doing standard buy-to-lets, you can get a really good return and the risk is really, really low. Let's say your house drops in value. If there's a market crash and the value of your house plummets and your mortgage is worth more than the value of your house, that's called negative equity. A bank in that situation does not want their money in the bank. They want it in a property where it's secure and they know over the course of 10, 20 years that house price will come back up. They do not want to repossess. It costs them a lot of money. They would rather have that money in your house. Point 3, which kind of links into point 2, is the uncertainty of payment. If you're doing service accommodation or deal sourcing or something like that, you don't have guaranteed payments. It's more of an active income than it is passive, or it fluctuates a lot more than sort of standard rents do. If you're doing deal sourcing and you're concerned about the uncertainty of payment, I would say that the uncertainty in life, the bits that change, are the bits that make it exciting, the bits that take the boredom away from the mundane 9 till 5, the Monday to Friday. When you wake up on Monday morning and go, I really don't want to go to work. It's because it's boring. It's because you lack stimulation. And if you've got to find some money to pay for something and then you get paid, and let's be honest, it's not paid 50 quid, you get paid a few £1,000s, it feels good. And you know that you've earned that, you've worked for that. I love the uncertainty. I thrive off it. I think it's amazing. If you have the entrepreneurial spirit, that drive to do something different with your life, to take hold of life and to run with it and to do what makes you happy, then I'd say it's a massive bonus, not a negative. A big reason why you should be doing property, not why you shouldn't be doing property. The uncertainty, for me, is a really big selling point as to why I wanted to do property in the first place, why I wanted to get out of my job and go into doing investments and entrepreneurial and business-minded activities. So, yeah. Point 4, James, I want to get into property, but I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how it works. I don't understand what a mortgage is, like what's the leverage, what does return on investment even mean. I just don't know what I don't know. If you don't know what you don't know, and you need to find out what you need to know. And the only way of doing that is to get educated. So the reason why you're not getting into property has been solved by many people. People like Samuel East, he's a person I trained with, a person who I did all my education with. There are hundreds of other trainers across the world that can teach you about investing in property and investing in general, that can answer a lot of these questions. And you can spend days with them, if not weeks with them, being mentored by them. They'll walk you through every single step. They'll tell you what you need to do when certain things happen. So that problem of I don't know what I don't know, there's been a product created specifically for you where you can simply just buy it and attend and absorb all the information and begin to transform your mindset, and you can make it happen. And you get guaranteed results with most of these programs. So I don't really know what you're waiting for. Point 5. I don't have the time. Something else I'd say that education could solve is your lack of time. I think it's probably a case of we all have the same amount of time, People are billionaires, people don't have much money at all. We all have the same amount of time. We all live a 24-hour day with 7 days a week and 365 days in a year. No one has more time than anybody else. Time is finite. Not having time, or you having just the same amount of time as everybody else, you're just not using it effectively. How much time do you spend on your phone? How much time do you spend down the pub? How much time do you spend sleeping? How much time do you spend nattering and gossiping at work? What is really important to you is where you'll find yourself putting the most amount of time. You'll find that you probably put 80% of your time into 20% of the things you do, and those 20% are the things that you love doing, whether that be spending time with your family, going out and eating at nice restaurants. If it's working, then you need to start enjoying your work. You need to find something that you actually want to do with your life. If you love your job, then fantastic. Congratulations to you. Most people do not. And if you don't know your job, you need to start finding out what it is you do love. What are the characteristics of an activity that would make you love it? For you, what is it that is exciting that you want to do? Because you do have the time to make it happen. You just have to decide that you want to set the time aside to make something happen. Everyone has the same amount of time. What are you going to do with yours? Thank you for watching. If you want to get into property, I've actually done a whole video on what I would do if I was starting out again. Things to read, courses to go to. If you want to get into property, give that a watch, and I can't wait to see you killing it in property. Cheers.